Welcome to Kitbashed Contenders episode 3 and the first of a two-parter where we meet our contestants. We've got 5 fantastic kitbashers and converters from across the community and set them to battle. Who can create the best conversion using a sprue from the same kit? So let's meet them.
I'm joined by Will, also known as Papa Pom Paints on Twitter, a fantastically talented hobbyist and converter, and our first Kitbashed contender. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Ricky. I am a long-time hobbyist. I've been doing hobby for about 25 years. Started back in 2nd edition 40k. Back then, just picked things out of the box as they were. I took a bit of a break when I went away for university.
Yep.
And then when I was at university, I decided I'll go into my local hobby shops, which were in London, and picked up a couple of things. And I saw other people's armies. I thought, these are great, but I can't paint as good as they can, and I don't want my army to look the same as them.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and I sort of did the odd head swap, the odd weapon change. And since then, which was probably about 15 years ago, I haven't been able to stop tinkering with kits.
That little bit of individuality, it kind of spreads outwards and infects every model you do afterwards. Stock's never good enough again.
I look at kits now and go, oh, that's nice to use for, rather than that looks like a nice kit.
Well, that's got a good head. It's going on something else now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is your hobby history? Obviously, it spans a long time. So what's the big hits? Where's the big notes to look at?
Oh, the big things that I've done in the past. So my very first army was good old metal space orcs. And then I sort of went it through the Astra Militarum Imperial Guard sort of phase. I've got an Imperial Fist Scout Army.
Yeah.
Which I did some conversions in that. But my current sort of focuses are on Inquisition, where I've been converting some Inquisitorial henchmen. But my main focus that a lot of people on Twitter have probably seen is my Beast of Chaos, where I converted a Beast of Chaos army based around Dragon Ogres. So everything is linked to a Dragon Ogre or a Beastman, but a Lizardman style Beastman. So I didn't really like the goats.
Better kinds of beasts. More scared, giant lizard or goat. So now let's look at some of your models, because talk is cheap, models are amazing, and aren't cheap. So we are starting with an epically chaos man.
Yes, this guy, he is based on the Lord Ordinata character for the Stormcast Eternals kit. And I had a bit of a count through to try and see what kits I used. So I used the head from the Chaos Lord kit. I had the axe and the punch fist left over from the Exalted Champion Corn. I think it's the Deathbringer. So I used the body for something else. And then I decided to go ahead and just use that as the basis across. Used one of my favourite packs, the Skulls Bits pack.
Best kit.
Best kit. And yeah, this one had so many odd bits in it. So the arm, because the punch fist is literally a fist.
Right,
I had to find a new forearm, so I used the Katachan, the forearm from a Katachan model. The spikes on the shoulders are from the Cities of Sigmar Free Guild sprues. And I think even the spiky knee pad, looking at it again, I think that's from a Dark Eldar kit.
Nice.
So the little bits
but they blend together, don't
bring
they?
All the model together.
It looks like one cohesive piece.
Yes, it's very easy to get lots of bits and you smack them together, because we've all seen those kits on eBay or in Little Kids Army where they've gone, I want all the guns.
Oh yes.
But just doing those little things that just make it slightly different. And the bird skull on the hip, I think originally it was like some sort of engineering tool hanging from that ring.
A maths or a mathematical compass thing.
Yeah, that's like thinking, I don't want it. So I cut as much away as I could, and then I put the bird skull over the top. So I'm thinking, with such a big axe, being that he's Khorne, why would he not be taking heads and just putting as many skulls across as I could? And the fact that I've got so many normal skulls, it was just nice to add a different skull of something else, just to add that little bit of variety and interest.
He's not picky. Skulls count.
Yeah, all heads count on the skull throne.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next, the robust one, the man in metal.
Oh yes, yes. This is based off of the Orruk Megaboss kit.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it's just such a big slab of armor. And I decided to convert him into an ogre tyrant. And I used from the kit most of the Megaboss, but used the punch fist from the ogre balls or the gluttons kit. Iron guts head. The backpack and the shoulder pad actually is from the Stonehorn Thundertusk kit. So where it's got 3 different like lizard pelts on there, adds a bit of extra colour and interest. And that big hammer is from the old Tyrant kit itself, but with that it is the old metal hammer. So I had to make sure that
it's such a nice hammer though. It's an amazing hammer on it.
It is. It took a bit of pinning and a bit of wishing that it would stay.
Held together by hope.
But where it's not, it's slightly angled, so it's not so bad.
Yeah.
But where it's just a metal piece basically hanging, you just have to hope the super glue works.
But it has that same language throughout. That is broken, beaten iron armor from many different kits, but that same language carries through from the hammer to the helmet, to the shoulder pads, to the body, that it looks like a solid one thematic piece.
It looks, with how I painted it, because I've painted it with lots of chipping and lots of weathering, and where it's a bit ramshackled and where he would be wearing it all the time, wearing it into battle and would be beaten, it's not going to be a polished piece of armor. So you can get away with the fact that the punch fist is a slightly different style, but matches kind of with the feet, with the slightly pointier style, which matches with the sort of bronzed more at the back. So there are bits that sort of do tie together, and it's just those little details and that bit to tie it across. But this is the first one I felt that it did feel like it was an off-the-peg model when I finished with it. I didn't feel like I just thrown some kits together and it kind of worked. I put this together and thought, this actually looks like something that could exist in the shop.
Right, so let's go one more. Okay. Inquisition Walkery Doodad. This is my technical terminology for that
one. This is Inquisitor Kazmarov, the Throne of Judgment guy. I did not... I kind of like the kit, but I don't like the design of the throne for the actual Games Workshop model. It's basically a dreadnought with a guy sat where the sarcophagus should be. And it doesn't feel like it's very sort of
regal.
Because the whole idea is you're being judged. It's going to be a focal piece, and you have people come to pay respects and come for guidance, come to be judged. So it's supposed to be like a bit of a ceremonial thing.
Yeah.
And this is one of the projects I did during the first lockdown for COVID, and I spent far too long on it.
That just means you enjoyed it, though. You know, the longer you spend, the more joy you're getting.
Yeah. Apparently, that's what they say. But I spent a lot of time because I always liked the Inquisition.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do my own Throne of Judgment, and I'd always been toying around with ideas of what should I do, what am I not going to do, and out of a lot of indecision, I just, with all that time, I just like, I'm going for it. And I've gone through the amount of skulls that I put into it from the Skulls Bits pack is stupid. The amount of skulls that was already sculpted on it was stupid. And I had a look through the various kits, because there's kits from various marine vehicles to Empire steam tank and flatulent bits, to Necromunda enforcers, to Empire Knights. And at the back there's also a Bretonnian head piece.
The little dude,
Yeah, and just I went through and just did a rough count, going, that's a different kit, that's a different kit, and there's over 20 kits in it of various bits and pieces, and I don't think I will ever do anything quite so ambitious again.
But again, it's come together that way that it works. You've carried the skulls
it
through.
does work.
It flows. I mean, there's a lot of skulls to flow.
Yes, and the thing is, like at the front, but either side of those lecterns, they're not pinned to the skulls. I have balanced the skulls and stuck them on like some sort of madman. And I've done things like the floor inside, which you can't see, is made out of like Warhammer Fantasy square bases.
Yeah.
And it is a pure insanity as to what I was thinking as I was going along. And I say I won't do it again. I probably will do it again, but not in a hurry, because that took a lot longer than I thought it would. And
it was lockdown. You had time. It's fine.
I had plenty of time. But this time round, I don't think that's one I'm going to return back to in a hurry.
Right, so let's go for a happy memory. There we go. So we've gone from big to small, and kind of clunky and industrial to elegant, nimble, leaping forwards.
Yeah, my Calidus assassin. Yeah, I've always liked the idea of fielding assassins, and one of my armies has been Astra Militarum army, which has had lots of Ogryns, lots of Ratlings, but supported by lots of assassins. And at one point, I was going to put 12 assassins into my army.
That's not an army, that's assassins and friends.
Yeah, assassins and friends. It would never do well, but it would look great. And I looked at the kits, and I was like, I don't really like the braided hair. I don't really like face mask. There's something about it that it didn't quite sit right with me. So one of my favourite pieces in any kit are these Dark Eldar sort of smooth helmets.
Yeah,
because
creepy.
You can get away with them for almost any race.
Yeah.
Where there's no features. As long as the scale is right, you could probably get away with it for any humanoid thing. So any human, bit of chaos, demons, Eldar, even potentially dwarfs if the kit is right.
Yeah.
But it's just that sort of menacing but neutral face that you can infer whatever you like. And this kit was great. And it's the first kit I probably threw most of the bits away from, because this is the Cities of Sigmar Dark Elf Assassin.
Yeah.
So the main thing I pulled out of it was the pose, because where it attaches to the base is all part of the same pose. So I didn't really have to do anything from that.
That gravity-defying leap, that
gravity-defying leap,
nimbleness
that you don't want to pin, and I will advise not to drop it, because you'll end up having to pin it anyway. I have had to pin it at least once through the foot. But those little bits, and like the fact of putting the phase sword as being a Space Marine power sword.
Yeah.
The Neuroblaster is a fusion blaster from the Dark Eldar kit, and the end of a Haywire launcher. And the shoulder pad is one of the shoulder pads from the Imperial Guard's tank crew.
Yeah.
So it's just finding those little bits just to add that extra bit of story, or that extra thing, can come from anywhere and be completely random and almost insane to think that you're going to mix the kits together that way.
Especially because it's like you've pulled from, so the main body there is Age of Sigmar. So you say most of the plastic you're seeing is not 40k. Yet the end result is clearly and indisputably a 40k model.
Absolutely.
Which is great.
Yeah, and you can easily just pick little bits, because like in the previous one, one of the crewmen at the front is 100% an Age of Sigmar model, except for the head and a backpack, basically. Everything else is basically Age of Sigmar. So the kits are interchangeable if you've got the right idea to go with them.
Right, so let's look what we've got next. The big uns, the current project, the truly disturbingly large men.
Yes, this is part of my current project. So I did mention earlier that I am doing Beast of Chaos, and a lot of people do conversions of Shaggoths, and they'll normally do Shaggoths with like Bloodthirsters and Star Drakes and Big Beasts. And it's like, I didn't really fancy that because Dragon Ogres are a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And Shaggoths, I felt that they sort of were commanding a sort of more in keeping with being a Dragon Ogre. So a Dragon Ogre could possibly be a Shaggoth.
Yeah.
So I converted all my Dragon Ogre Shaggoths from the Dracoline kits.
Yeah.
And using some of the Ogoroid kits. And I also used a Radikar the Beast model for one of them as well, because it gives it that sort of buff, but still in keeping with the rest of the Dragon Ogres. These guys I'm using as my Gorgons. So I've used the Magmadroth kit and a couple of Ale Guzzler kits, and actually used the axes from a Bloodthirster kit, which I managed to scrounge off some people at the local hobby club that I go to. Because although they've got butchering blades, you don't need butchering blades, you just need one big butchering blade.
One solid axe.
Yeah, one will do. But it'll cause enough carnage. And it was fun to do one. I decided I wanted to do two.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd want to do three. Because when you start getting to this sort of scale, it is a thing that you'll have a big void in the middle. So between the Magmadroth body and the Gargant body, there is a big void. So you can't pin it. And if you haven't quite got the edges flush, which for a lot of kit bashes, you won't first off.
Yeah.
The only way that I've found that I can actually sort of pin it as such is to get some tinfoil and scrunch it up and stick it in, and it gives a rough shape that putting some super glue in will hold it enough, ready for when you're going across, and should keep it fairly sturdy as well. It does add some weight, and you've got to be a bit careful, because one of my recent projects has been a Cygor, which I made out of Stegodon and the Fomeroid kit from Warcry. And to give it the extra height, because it is quite a squat model, the Stegodon kit, I've put it on a rock, which I made out of a chariot base and lots of milliput. But to give it that extra height, I used the tinfoil trick, which has made it so obscenely heavy. So you do have to be careful how much you use and when you use.
So you've got the weight of a metal model in your plastic model, essentially.
Yes.
Bringing back that comforting weight for a robust model.
Absolutely, and it means if you drop it, in theory, it should bounce in the right direction, right? That's how
it works. Or just stick to the ground, just sheer weight on the way down.
Yeah. I've always found with things like this, and something that I've enjoyed with converting, is that a lot of people think that your kit looks cool, and you're going, I like the kits.
Yeah.
But a lot of people find their hobby is, I have to play the best, I have to do this the best. And when it comes to kit bashing and converting, the main thing is you're making something that you like or that you want to make. Yeah. So people will go, oh, don't take Beasts of Chaos because they're rubbish. And pre-White Dwarf bits,
I was going to say, they're good now. You're right.
They're a bit better now. But back then, because this was a 2-year project, 3-year project for me for these Beasts of Chaos, I started them because I love the Dragon Ogre models. And ultimately, whatever you do in the hobby, if you like the models or you like the kits, it's going to be on your shelf. And if they look cool, people will always look and go, they look cool. And I've seen some of the other competitor stuff, and there is a lot of cool stuff out there. And I don't know if any of them play, but even if they don't, playing against an army like that is always a joy.
And rules change, so rules will get better or worse. A cool model stays cool. It is Absolutely. A fixed quantity at that point that, like I said, your army, the rules have suddenly changed to be good. You've started a passion project that has fallen into a semi-good army after time. All things come round in the end.
And I expect that their day in the sun is going to be 6 months a year.
Brief.
And then they're going to be terrible for another 5.
Yeah.
And that's what it's going to be. And then you might get another 6 months to a year, and they'll be terrible for another 5. It's how it goes.
Yeah.
I've never been a meta chaser. When things have been in fashion, I've always been doing the other stuff because it's just what I wanted at that time. And I think anybody who does kit bashing, they're never looking at the meta, really. Because it takes too long for them to do the things, and by the time they've done it, the meta's changed.
Of course. So we've looked backwards, we've had a bit of your past, we've seen your current project. So looking forwards, you received your Kitbashed box without giving the game away at all. What are you thinking so far?
I was a little daunted. I knew roughly what you were probably going to go for, and I wasn't.
Anyone that knows me can guess what I would have gone for. And I am not a subtle person.
No, although I have had some people ask me what it is, and they have been giving wrong guesses, so I think that's hilarious.
I'll take that.
But I have been looking, and I think I've got... the problem I had is I had a really good idea, but I'd given this idea to somebody a few months ago.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go ahead and do the same thing again.
It's been done, it's less cool now.
Yeah, but this time round, I've got an idea. For a long time, I was struggling with the idea because I'm an okay sculptor.
Yep.
But I'm not very good at very fine details, and there was a massive possibility that I'd probably have to try and sculpt a face, which I'm not sure I'd be happy with.
I can't sculpt, so if you do a good sculpted face, I will be that much more impressed.
But what I think I might have found a good donor head.
That works.
But if I don't like the head, I still might be tweaking it or sculpting something with it as well. So there's possibly going to be some fine detail bits, which is not really something I've done too much of.
It's a good chance to test it out. Yeah, there's nothing on the line apart from a competition. Let's just go crazy. Try and experiment with new things.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to go massive and wild, so I think it's sort of going the opposite direction, because a lot of the things I've been making recently, being dragon ogres and things, have been big, and this is not going to be that big, so it's going to be a lot more detail based, and hopefully it all comes together. And I think there are going to be I know that there are going to be a couple of bits in the kit and bits that I've borrowed that are going to look good.
Yeah.
But I'm not using the pieces in the way they're intended, and I kind of hope that some people guess where some of the bits came from.
Awesome. Well, that is a good note to leave it on then. Thank you very much for speaking to me today. I very much look forward to seeing what you do, and I'll talk to you again soon.
I'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this.
Cheers. I'm joined by Sam, aka Green Stuff and Glue on Twitter, our second Kitbashed contender and all-around brilliant hobbyist. Well worth the follow. So tell me about yourself.
Hi, yeah, thanks. I'm Sam, and I have difficulty following instructions. Yeah.
So why do you convert, or kitbash, or whatever you want to call
it? Mostly because I can. Initially, I had some broken models, and I figured, it seems a shame to waste them. So see if I can fix them, and then got a bit carried away.
I'm going to say, because you've gone well beyond just fixing it. I've seen a lot of your conversions so far. They're well beyond a slightly damaged model.
Stuff needs, it needs wings on probably, or if it had wings, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of silverness, stick twigs on all the bases.
Yeah.
Unless it's desert stuff, I could do quite a bit of that for my dead armies. So, yeah.
So what are your current projects then? So you've gone for a wide range of models there.
Currently on the table, there's a lot of things, but the most recently part painted, let's go with that, is the Eldari Race Knight.
Oh yeah,
that's crossed
big
with
old
the
model.
Lumineth stuff. But there's a few other bits and pieces. I've been working on a dragon as well, so hopefully that'll come out soon. That'll be fun.
Lovely. How long have you been in the hobby then? Because you're quite advanced in sort of converting and kit bashing and sculpting section there.
Yeah, I did do a bit a few years ago. I say a few. I don't know how long ago that was anymore. But the last 2 years, for some reason, I seem to have gotten a little bit more into things.
Yes. Did lockdown help
especially
with that?
doing it online. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and just meeting people online and talking about stuff because you weren't able to go anywhere. So that was I met loads of cool people, and here we are.
Lovely. Well, for conversions, talk is cheap. Let's have a look at some of the amazing conversions. Best way to show things off. So, iconic for AOS 3.0 in Drasta, but actually modelled flying.
Well, I mean, when they released the art for the cover, and then they released the model.
Lovely static lady on a hill rather than...
Come on. Like, Ben posted it up, and I'm just like, that's a challenge, right? That's asking for trouble. So there we go. I had to. Simple as, really.
So how's this model supported? I'm getting a lot of pin work through that lightning vine?
Not really, actually. She is removable. It's purely balanced there as it stands. So kind of, I mean, I could argue for transport, but she's not really going anywhere. But she did make it onto the Christmas tree this year.
So use for a model?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's quite a few because it's traditional to put angels on Christmas trees, right?
Yep.
So I've got a set of Sanguinary Guard or 3 that are, well, I mean, they're red and gold. That's festive, right?
It fits on. So see, that is the iconic model for AOS 3 in the iconic pose. I'm going to let your camera remain massively large. It will fix itself shortly. Okay. I'm not hiding behind your own model here. Your camera shows it on its own.
That's fine. I'll lean over here.
So let's have a look at your next models. Now these, I do not know, Morghast Akai, I want to say?
They were, but I refer to them as my Morghast Shakti.
Right.
Because I miss my Tomb Kings.
Yep.
And I have a bit of a thing for ancient Egyptian stuff, so too much Assassin's Creed Origins, gotta say. But yeah, they were fun. And didn't actually take a lot of work. Took the wings off, controversially.
No.
And a couple of head swaps. That was about it, really.
And they're not suspended by a little floaty bit that keeps them in the air usually.
And they've got like the wings kind of go up, and then there's ghosty spirit things which I cut off and use for something else. I think the wings ended up on a Blood Bowl Bloodthirster. Yeah, as you do.
But I mean, they look far. I don't think menacing's probably the easiest way to go on. The other ones are a bit floaty. The pose on these feel a bit more threatening.
I mean, the crocodile-headed one definitely. Yeah. The lion is more kind of sentinel.
Happy, noble
the crocodile is a bit,
Lovely. A fantastic model. So I detest the Morghast Akai. I detest anything that's floating by a little bit of spirit in that range. But these are grounded but still utterly terrifying.
Thanks.
And this, right. So this is a paint over from one of my favourite hobbyists on one of the best conversions I've seen.
Arctic Empire, absolutely rocking it.
Oh, yes. It looks amazing. So the deer and the tree lord are all based actually together in the original model.
Yep.
How much of the foliage says you as well? I know there's a blending of background to base there.
Pretty much the bottom quarter is all like diorama base, which can be removed for terrain. And the tree lord is actually on a tree lord base, so you can take it off and it would play.
Yeah.
The deer is stuck to the little kind of terrain island.
And that's a wild rider deer without the antlers?
Yep. Sisters of the Thorn Wild Riders, yep.
Because it looks a lot more natural than it's currently. They're all prancing in the original box.
Those antlers are very stylized.
Yes.
And for this one, I actually had to cut I had to murderize the deer a little bit, poor Bambi. I had to cut them in half because all of the ones in the box either have like 2 back feet on the floor or 2 front feet on the floor because they're mid-prance.
They're either forwards or backwards.
So that one, I've got the front and the back sections of 2 different deer to have it standing. So that was a challenge.
It's come out really well though. It's a proper natural model of a Sylvaneth in their element rather than standing looking in the direction they're going as opposed normally is.
Yeah, and AE did a really good job of just like kind of putting them in the setting there. The lighting is really cool.
Oh yes. All right, let's see what else we've got. Okay, another more natural model, so not models that are designed to be whacking models in the center of the battlefield. Chilling out with this lovely pet.
Yeah, when I picked up the Dominion box, primarily for the Drasta, I have to say, this guy, people didn't like him. I don't know if he's not good in the rules, but I was just like, okay, I'll keep hold of them then. And after you've had a hard day of fighting Stormcast or whoever you're murderizing this week, eating all of the dwarves, maybe just sit down and have a little bit of a when you've had too much of your Sunday roast.
Just a yawning pet, just the rider leaning against him, chilling out. Still with a massive spear to the hand. Yeah, you can clearly tell it's armor weapon.
Just in case.
It's a nice natural, because we don't tend to see models outside of the hammer raised whacking pose. It's that.
Well,
it's chilling out. He's had a fight. He's good.
Yeah.
It's an amazing model. Once again, it's looking at a model slightly different. So, like you're in that Jester, who was a model at rest put into an action pose. That was an action pose model that's been given a degree of rest and feels more in the universe than just always stuck in the attack pose. Yeah,
and it's nice to see a little bit of context. Clearly they're just misunderstood, right?
I mean, he'll kill a man that looks at him wrong, but he likes his dog. So it humanises him a little bit. We all like dogs. Someone likes a murder dog. It's fine.
Really big murder dog.
And now, the big one, I can identify a bit of this model. I can tell you there's probably a zombie dragon in there.
Primarily zombie dragon, yeah. Yep, there's a fair few other bits in there as well. Demon Prince, actually, for the extra wing pieces.
Okay.
Because the zombie dragons are kind of wyverns. They only have the wing arms, kind of like Smog. And I saw some art from. I'll have to find the artist. That was the inspiration for this piece.
Yep.
And again, riffing kind of on a vaguely Egyptian issue with the gold collar and the stripes. But the head, I think, is actually from the Morgos that the other ones with the head swapped with.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then kind of cut, and then I can't remember if it's Vermin Lord horns or it might just be the Mortark mount horns from one of those skulls like Neferata or something, because that's where the collar is from as well.
Yeah.
And just had and Magmadroth spines down the back.
Oh, okay. So the entire back spine stick out.
Yeah.
Because
so that was quite a busy one. That one.
I don't like zombie dragons generally. I loved the kit once.
They're not quite right, are they? Yeah.
It never seems to look right on its own base. This looks almost like the Star Drake in pose. It almost feels, with the leg up properly, moving forwards.
It's kind of going that way, yeah.
Obviously, not as weird looking as a Star Drake, which is, given it's an undead skeleton / Egyptian thing. Yeah.
They're just big boned Star Drakes.
But no, it's come out amazing. So that's with your Ushabti and your Tomb King style project?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's amazing. It genuinely looks like a decent model.
At some point.
Right, so we've looked backwards, so now we're looking forwards. You've received your Kitbashed Contenders box. But we're not going to give away your actual plans, because I don't know if you have actual plans yet. You've received it within the last week. You may have actual plans.
I've got like 6.
What are your early thoughts?
I mean, there's definitely a few options that I can go with there. As to whether the hero is on their own or whether they have a little friend.
Yeah.
Whether it's a chill pose, because I did consider, like you said, whether if it's got wings on, it doesn't have wings on, or if it's like you said, with the hammer up, or if it's just kind of seated and chilling out. I like turning around what it's supposed
whatever it's doing, do the opposite and make it look good.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. That and just kind of raid the bits box, see if I can find anything that inspires me. So
awesome.
It doesn't usually take long. The trick is then narrowing it down to actually specifically that one, rather than I might do this or I might do something else. So
there's several models on the sprues, so I count people probably having about 5 ideas. I mean, there's about 2 or 3 models at most.
It's a possibility that I might build more than one and then see which one I like best at the end.
Lovely. Well, I look forward to seeing what you come up with there then. Thank you very much for sitting down with me for the interview today.
Yeah, no worries.
We'll see you again soon. I'm joined by John, aka It's So Hure on Twitter, our 3rd Kitbashed contender and all-around brilliant hobbyist. Your work seems very otherworldly. I've left one up on the screen now, but I'm going to hide it quickly, so there's stuff to come later. We go right to the beginning. Tell me about yourself.
So, I'm John. or Isoture, as appears on Twitter and both on Instagram as well as isoture.warhammer. And well, I've been into the hobby since I was more or less like 12, 13 years old when I was first introduced by a friend. I didn't know absolutely anything about it. I didn't see like any models or anything like that. I just been told like, oh, so we have these ragmen, we have these lizardmen, we have these elves, we have these crazy things, and I fell in love.
Yep.
And then I managed to grab one white dwarf with like Shadows of Albion, and that was like my first like real experience with Warhammer.
Yeah.
And from there, it's been like a rocky love affair. Because at some point I ended up like quitting the hobby for a while.
Yeah.
Around university, college, but then when I moved into the UK, I decided to go back into it, and like instead of kit bashing for like saving money,
Yeah.
I started kit bashing and realizing that the models I was using were more expensive than the models that they were supposed to be. So yeah, that was an interesting experience, but it's been really, really fun.
Because you have this kind of unique, otherworldly kind of theme to your conversion. They look horrific, but in a beautiful way. So that's where I can put that. It's like a cosmic horror kind of almost theme.
Yes. So yeah, some of my last projects, they have that angelic, kind of bizarre, weird idea. And even though like the giants or the colossi are very different to the more chaotic angels, they do share some ideas, because it was like, I actually like this, so why not like take a few of the elements and just keep on using them.
It's that little sort of alien flair that you have your own almost conversion language, and you can go, this is me. You know, anyone look at go, this one, they're going to know this one's me.
Yeah.
So what is your current army or project, or do you work in armies, or do you just kind of feature models?
I think it's more like I come up with an idea for like a big model.
Yeah.
So for my Sylvaneth, it was Alariel. I really wanted to work with Alariel because I think like it's an amazing model.
Oh yes.
And I was like, okay, I like Alariel, and I would like to do something weird with it. So Tombkins, because it's one of my favorite armies, and they are more or less gone. And it was like, okay, I'm gonna mix both of them together, and then Lady Olinder was released, and it was like, okay, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how it worked. I come up with an idea for like a single model, and then I need to find an excuse to use that model on the in a game.
It grows out to justify that one model for you, and that whole army spawned around them.
Yes.
Lovely. Right. Well, time to look at some of the models then, because models look better than me talking about models, even though I look amazing. So let's have a look. This is what I mean by kind of otherworldly, kind of cosmic horror. It's a man appearing from a mirror in a hand, but kind of this pulled shadow kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So this was my Keeper of Secrets from my old Slanesh army, where the idea, at least the concept, was that this creature, they wanted to become the new god of like Slanesh, basically. So they were a pretender, and they wanted to amass this force, and all of them, there will be statues that were part of their garden.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to create like a realm that was so beautiful. Because if you're gonna reign over everything, may as well
it should look good. Yeah.
Look at. Yes, exactly. And so most of the models were painted like statues, like with lots of flowers. But this one, because this one was the general, I wanted it to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
So the other Keeper of Secrets was a regular Keeper of Secrets, but this one I wanted to go, a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I really love the Catan, the model.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and I wanted to use it. And I think that the hand as well, it gives that weird idea, and the mirror as well, which really works amazingly with Slanesh.
It looks demonic, and it looks beautiful, but it's going to rip your soul out of you, which is the kind of vibe you want for Slanesh. You're going to get eaten alive by something that looks horrifically beautiful.
Yes.
All right, let's pan to the next one. So this will be the Olinda conversion you were talking about, and it's your Alariel?
Yes, Alarial, and she usually goes on top of a Sphinx,
Yep.
which is basically the Alarial beetle with the Necrosphinx, the body of the Necrosphinx,
Oh, yeah.
with some Slanesh claws, like a scorpion, basically. And yeah, no, I think this is one of my favorite conversions, just because it's quite subtle. I like to say, I think that it's something simple, but it works really well. And I think that the crest, what I was able to do with that, I'm low-key quite proud of it, because I think it was like smart way of taking advantage and using that that model and that part of the model. And then I was quite happy with the face, because at the beginning I was gonna use dark like a dark elf sorcerer,
Yeah.
like with more like angry kind of face.
The screaming angry.
Yes, but then I saw the Tidecaster, and that very like calm, at peace almost kind of face.
It's sort of a funeral mask kind of face, isn't it? It's, they've laid down to rest, eyes shut, quite sedate.
I thought it worked perfectly with the idea of, well, what you would use actually with like Egyptian kind of like aesthetic, and yeah, I really fell in love with the conversion.
So, what? So is Morafi's crown in there on top of the Tidecaster? Is that?
No, it's just regular Melusai kind of clown.
Oh,
So
okay.
Yes.
Because it's that seamless blend between that face and the crown that it looks like one cohesive piece there. It's that kind of sarcophagus front on top of it and a staff. It looks like a single seamless model that you would not... I couldn't tell you that was 3 different models that have got into just this bit on the model.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is probably typifies the otherworldly horror that I mentioned earlier.
A bit.
It is... It's almost angelic. It's sort of weirdly logical, kind of. It's not a word for it. It looks like it reminds me of maths, and I'm not sure why. It's the best way I can describe that one.
Okay.
What is it? And why is it? And what's it doing to me?
So this is the setup of Extermination, which is my Archeon.
Yeah.
The idea behind this project is that actually the cycle of the storm of reincarnation of Sigmar is a curse, because you are made to fight again and again and again until you are nothing but like a shade of your old self. So the idea of this army is that actually we're just going to destroy everything. We are going to end with this cycle. We are going to exterminate everything, and this is like Archeon accepting like this task, this real like
it's duty almost that everything should come to an end, and Sigmar's perverted that order. So he is, to his mind, the good guy, or at least the logical guy, that you begin and you end. You don't repeat with dwindling returns.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, I blame Final Fantasy on like for this model, particularly they released like a Super Smash Bros. Trailer with like Safer Sephiroth. That's basically the inspiration behind this model. Yeah. And I really wanted to use Sigval's head to make it a bit more human-like, but it's too tiny.
Sigval's head's too small. So that is a pretty big model then, if Sigval's head's too small. He's a big chap, isn't he?
So, yeah.
Okay, that is a big model. It was smaller in my head than I could see it next to you there.
Yeah, no, it's like size-wise. Yeah. So the main body is the boy dragon, the new Tan, and the head was too tiny, so I ended up using the original one. I just made a few modifications so I can have like the empty face with the eye, because I thought that like the 3 eyes of Archeon as well make it look a little bit more like weird. Yeah, and then wings.
All of the wings
everywhere. Yes,
it's beautiful. What is it around him? But joining him to the wings.
So that's my attempt at creating some kind of cloud effect.
I'd say it looked almost blossomy to me, kind of, it looks beautiful and ethereal, and it looks soft to the eye, is the best way to put that one.
Yes, yes. So that was the idea, like, I wanted to create, because the original creation, Safer Sephiroth, has like these clouds that are connecting it to the wheel and to the wings, and I wanted to create a similar effect. So I had done something previously to create some Chaos Dwarf Cat Eyes using a sponge, like a kitchen
yeah.
sponge. And that's what I used for that. And then, like a few weeks after I did that, the new Lumineth cloud.
Oh yeah, the guy riding a cloud. Yep.
Yeah, and it was like, I could have used that. Like,
it's always the way. The
but,
bit
yeah.
you need is only made after you've done the conversion you need the bit for.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's, I ended up, you know, keeping that. So yeah,
Well worth it. Looks amazing.
thank you.
So this is what I call more traditional chaosy. There's horns and things are pointy on it. That's the way I can
Yes.
tell it's evil.
And it's not chaos.
It's not chaos. So
It's technically my attempt at recreating what we know so far about Malerion, the Shadow
yeah,
King.
the man/dragon elf.
Yeah, so the only thing that we know so far is that artwork where you can see that like more dragon-like elf.
Oh, and he's got that hand in that pose in the book as well, hasn't
Yeah.
he? He's grasping almost at shadows.
Yes, so that's because Malekith is probably one of my favorite characters from the old the world that was, and I wanted to do, you know, something with it, and it's like, yeah, let's have a go at using like the Keeper of Secrets body
Yeah.
with the Hydra with some old black dragon wings, and let's see how it goes. And you know, it's okay. I think that in the future maybe I attempt to do something similar if they don't release the model with the new avatar of Cain.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that it can, you know, look even better, hopefully. But yeah.
I'd say that is. So is that a keeper sword then?
Yes, that's the Keeper sword. The body, I changed one of the breasts,
Yeah.
so it's more like a man-like figure. Because obviously keepers are more like, you know, androgynous. And then the Hydra, the head is a combination of some of the keepers with a nose, because they don't actually have
I
a
was
nose.
going to say they're disturbingly beautiful, almost smooth down the features, aren't they?
Yeah, very like cow-like.
You're waiting for the God of Shadows to emerge, I'm guessing.
Yes, definitely. I think that if they ever release that army, I might not even convert anything.
You
can't
can't say that. You can't say that. There'll be something you'll go, you know what? If I can't convert him, massive scenic base instead. There's part of me on this model. Even if it's the base, I'm going in this model.
Yeah, something. At least something, yeah.
Okay, and again, we're back to cosmic horror. I'm guessing kind of a Tomb Kingsy. It reminds me of sort of an Egyptian vibe there as well.
There is a bit of it because you have the face of the Sphinx, but the idea is the Agloraxi Empire, which is an old bit of lore that from the realm of fire. Which is this empire of wizards that had this massive colossi that construct basically that would use in order to enslave people.
Yeah.
But they were so powerful that Khorne decided to attack them. They destroyed immediately the army using their magic. So Khorne manifested its own fist and destroyed them.
Oh, you know you've annoyed a Chaos God when his fist comes through at you.
Exactly, yeah, definitely. So this is basically the idea that some of those colossi survived, and they were asleep for like centuries and millennia until finally they were awoken by something. And technically, this one, for example, I played it as Gargants because they are massive,
Oh, yes.
They last ever, and they hit hard.
I say he does not look thrilled to be awake. That is not the face of a man who was happy to be woken up.
Yes.
It is this because it's a model that feels very Age of Sigmar to me. That it's so weird, and yet it seems to work beautifully. It makes sense in this horrific way that it's alien, and yet you go, yeah, it actually works. It's so alien, it's come back the other side again. You go, yeah, it's a functional model.
Yes.
It's beautiful work. I like little bits of grass. He's clearly had a nap somewhere that was quite green and verdant, and then he stood up again.
Yeah, that was the idea, yeah.
Right, so we've looked backwards, so now we're going to look forwards. You've received your Kitbashed box.
Yes.
You've opened it. You've seen the beautiful sprue inside that I've handpicked personally. Right, so without giving the game away too much, what are your early thoughts?
I really like the kit. I already played with that kit in the past because I thought it was like amazing, and I had some ideas about it, and it was like, ooh, this has potential, to be honest. Like, it's one of those sleeper kind of models because like you see them and it's like, But actually, if you start thinking about it, it's like, oh.
And it's not
Yeah.
competitive, so it's not a kit that's been out there a lot and used a lot. So it's a good kit that you've not actually got.
Yes.
No one's building a lot of them. So you go, you know what? I can do something that's exclusively me on this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking time to talk to me today. I look forward to see what you make because your models they both scare me, intrigue me, and they look beautiful. So I look forward to catching up with you again soon. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you. See ya.